$1 million. That number hits harder than any table flip or family shouting match we watched on this show. The rumor alone stopped fans mid-scroll. Lawsuit whispers. Lawyers involved. Andrei and Elizabeth linked to paperwork, not pillow talk. This felt wrong. This felt quiet in a way reality TV never feels quiet. And the shock lands fast, because this couple built fame on noise. So, how did a man known for raising his voice end up facing consequences wrapped in silence? The early image matters here. Andrei on screen came off dominant, stubborn, loud by design. He pushed back. He challenged everyone. He loved control. That behavior pulled cameras closer. Viewers reacted. Producers leaned in. Chaos equals content. That formula fed the franchise for years. No one expected court-sized trouble to enter the story. Not for them. Not like this. Stay with me, because the loudest part of this story starts when the cameras go dark. The reported figure floats online without paperwork attached. Alleged. Unverified. Repeated enough to scare people. $1 million sounds unreal until you place it inside a TV machine built on schedules and invoices. Reality shows thrive on fights. They do not thrive on stoppages. They survive on predictability behind the scenes while selling unpredictability on screen. Once filming halts, money bleeds. Crews wait. Locations charge. Insurance flags rise. All of this moves faster than gossip. Andrei's on-screen posture trained audiences to expect blow-ups. That expectation now feeds belief in something worse. Not proof. Belief. The gap between those two matters. This story lives inside that gap. Fans ask whether shouting crossed a line. Others push back and say TLC profits from chaos. Both thoughts fit. The tension comes from timing. When controversial cast vanish without a goodbye, viewers sense pressure somewhere else. Silence drives the unease. No press release. No denial. No farewell montage. Just absence. In a space where drama earns renewals, absence reads loud. People start connecting dots. They compare past exits. They recall how networks often recycle polarizing figures. When that pattern breaks, suspicion grows. This silence feels managed, strategic, expensive. Notice how the story shifts from marriage drama to business risk without warning. The question circles back to behavior, not identity. Behavior. Loudness works on camera. Control reads as confidence in confessionals. But the same traits strain crews who work long hours under strict rules. Production lives on tight windows. One delay ripples across a day, then a week, then a budget line turns red. Allegedly, repeated issues force higher review, not because of personality, because of cost. This does not label anyone guilty. It frames a system. Reality TV looks messy on screen and rigid behind it. Contracts spell out conduct. Location partners expect calm. Insurance teams track risk. Once incidents stack up, decisions move upward. Lawyers enter rooms producers used to occupy. The tone shifts. Drama stops being content and starts being exposure. Fans split here. Some defend Andrei and Elizabeth and point out edits exaggerate conflict. Others argue the show protected them until protection failed. Both views hold weight. What fuels the fire is the sudden stop. Viewers never saw a wrap-up. No final scene. No closure. That absence invites speculation. Here is the part most viewers miss. The real damage rarely happens during the fight you remember. Think about the off-camera hours. Late nights. Hotel lobbies. Crew loading gear. Locations relying on calm. When friction touches those spaces, the story changes shape. Production documents moments audiences never see. Patterns matter more than moments. A single argument fades. A series forces action. The alleged lawsuit talk feeds on this logic. Even without filings, the rumor survives because the math checks out in theory. Halted filming costs money. Reshoots cost money. Insurance claims cost money. Networks track risk with precision. When risk outweighs reward, separation follows. Quietly. That quiet scares fans more than a scandal. Scandals get addressed. Silence lingers. And silence reframes everything that came before. It asks a different question. Not who yelled, not who controlled whom, but how a reality TV career ended without a scene, and whether the biggest consequence happened far from the argument everyone remembers. Before the lawyers and rumors, there was a different story. One fans knew by heart. Andrei arrived loud and confident. He filled rooms. He challenged people fast. Elizabeth followed with loyalty that confused her own family. The tension wrote itself. Fathers clashed. Siblings rolled eyes. Viewers picked sides. Ratings climbed. This pairing became a staple because chaos stayed predictable. Every season promised another blow-up. That promise paid bills. The early seasons leaned into culture clashes and money stress. Andrei wanted control. Elizabeth wanted peace without choosing sides. Family dinners turned into debates. Voices rose. People stormed out. It felt messy yet familiar. Fans knew what they were getting. TLC leaned into it. Producers know conflict fuels conversation. The louder the scene, the wider the reach. This couple fit the mold. What kept viewers hooked was repetition with a twist. The fights felt new, but the roles stayed steady. Andrei pushed. Elizabeth mediated. Her family reacted. The cycle reset. Viewers complained, yet tuned in again. That rhythm built their relevance. In this world, relevance equals safety. As long as people talk, the machine keeps moving. And then something subtle shifted, and the noise did not hit the same. As seasons passed, the tone tightened. Conflicts looked heavier, less playful, less contained. Andrei's need for control read sharper. Elizabeth's loyalty looked heavier. Viewers debated whether edits changed or behavior hardened. Social media stayed loud. The show kept rolling. From the outside, nothing looked broken. That is why the later silence shocked people. TLC does not punish chaos. Chaos pays. History proves it. Cast members weather scandals and return stronger. Backlash often boosts screen time. When someone disappears without fanfare, viewers notice. That absence breaks the pattern. Fans ask why this pair did not get recycled like others. That question pulls the story into a different lane. People point to Andrei's temper. Others point to editing tricks. Both ideas miss the shift. The shift shows up in structure, not scenes. Fewer appearances, fewer updates. No clear exit. The franchise moved on. The couple faded without a closing chapter. That fade felt planned. If chaos sells, why did silence take over here? Elizabeth's role matters, too. She often carried the emotional weight. She defended Andrei. She absorbed family pressure. She stayed calm while storms passed. Viewers related to that tug of loyalty. Over time, her position grew harder. Standing between loud personalities wears people down. On screen, she smiled through it. Off screen, pressure adds up. Fans joked about Andrei wearing the pants. Jokes turn stale when patterns repeat. What once felt entertaining started to feel heavy. Entertainment thrives on tension, not strain. Strain slows crews. Strain complicates days. Strain raises questions no one wants on record. The franchise thrives on managing personalities. Production teams balance conflict with control. When balance slips, adjustments follow. Sometimes storylines shift. Sometimes casting changes. Sometimes the silence speaks. Online chatter filled the gap. People searched for clues. Old scenes got replayed. Comments grew sharper. Theories stacked. No proof surfaced. Still, the questions stayed alive. Viewers sensed a line got crossed somewhere they never saw. Here is where comfort turns into unease because the story stops following the script fans expect. The first hint of an off-camera shift was not a fight. It was absence. No farewell, no wrap-up, no transition scene. The machine moved forward without them. That choice carries weight in reality TV. Networks plan exits carefully. When exits vanish, something else guides the decision. This does not label guilt. It points to structure. Reality TV runs on contracts and schedules. When friction affects those, stories end quietly. Fans never see the meeting rooms where decisions land. They only see who stops appearing. And that quiet moment marks the start of a different story. One where the biggest conflict never aired. One where raised voices mattered less than what happened when cameras shut off and paperwork opened. At some point, reality TV stops being about relationships and starts being about logistics. Cameras capture emotion, but contracts manage risk. Every cast member signs agreements that go far beyond what viewers imagine. They cover behavior, safety, compliance, and what happens when someone becomes difficult to work with. This part never makes it on screen, yet it decides who stays and who quietly disappears. When filming ends for the day, the show does not stop running. Crews reset. Schedules adjust. Locations cost money by the hour. Every delay has a price tag. Every argument off camera affects real people with call times and budgets. Reality TV looks chaotic, but behind it is strict order. That order matters more than drama. This is where perception shifts. Not villain, not hero. Risk profile. A risk profile is not about morality. It is about predictability. Can this person be placed in a room without escalation? Can scenes stay on schedule? Can crew feel safe doing their jobs? These questions sound cold, but they drive decisions quietly and consistently across the industry. When production starts asking those questions, the show has already changed direction. Conduct clauses exist for a reason. They are written broadly. Disruptive behavior. Failure to cooperate. Creating unsafe environments. These terms are flexible on purpose. They allow networks to act before something becomes a headline. Most of the time, these clauses never matter. Cast members argue, yell, storm off. That chaos is expected. It is planned. It is contained. The problem arises when behavior bleeds beyond containment, when arguments stretch filming hours, when locations refuse access, when crew members feel tension that does not reset with a cut. None of this requires violence. None of it needs to be dramatic. Repetition alone can trigger concern. Andrei's on-screen presence was always intense. That intensity made good television early on. Over time, intensity can also strain environments. This is not an accusation. It is an industry pattern. Loud personalities work until they do not. Networks monitor that shift carefully. Elizabeth's loyalty adds another layer. When partners shield behavior, production loses leverage. Boundaries blur. Feedback gets filtered. Solutions stall. Again, this does not mean wrongdoing. It means complexity. Complexity costs time. Reality TV crews are not anonymous machines. They are individuals with contracts and protections. If filming becomes uncomfortable, reports happen. Quietly. Internally. Not to fans, not to gossip blogs, to supervisors and compliance teams. These reports do not accuse. They document patterns. Patterns change how people are categorized inside a production office. Once a cast member is flagged as high maintenance or unpredictable, the calculus shifts. Scenes require more planning. Insurance questions appear. Location approvals tighten. Suddenly, one personality affects the entire production web. At that point, drama stops being profitable. This is why silence replaces spectacle. Networks do not announce internal decisions. They do not explain risk assessments. They adjust casting and move on. Viewers feel something is off, but they never see the memo. Language matters here. Allegedly. Reportedly. In the opinion of those observing from the outside, there is no public document spelling out reasons. There is only pattern recognition. Presence fades. Opportunities narrow. The machine continues. What unsettles fans is not what they saw, but what they did not. No explosive exit. No reunion confrontation. No final scene. Just absence. That absence fits industry behavior more than storyline logic. And this reframes the narrative. Not marriage drama spiraling out of control. Production reality tightening its grip. The couple did not lose relevance. They became inconvenient. Inconvenience is the fastest way to disappear in reality television. When inconvenience enters the picture, money follows close behind. Budgets do not bend easily. Contracts involve compensation, penalties, and obligations that exist even when cameras stop rolling. When behavior affects finances, stakes escalate fast. And that is where this story stops being about shouting matches and starts brushing up against numbers no one expected to be discussed at all. Money changes the temperature of every story. Not loudly, not emotionally, quietly. Once numbers enter the frame, tone hardens and options narrow. That is why a seven-figure dispute does not sound wild in this world, even without confirming it as fact. Reality TV budgets look flexible on screen. Off screen, they are rigid. Every filming day has a cost floor. Crews are paid whether scenes work or not. Locations charge whether footage airs or not. Equipment rentals, permits, travel, security, all stack fast. When a single day stalls, the loss is not emotional. It is mathematical. Now stretch that over multiple interruptions. Delayed call times, locations rescheduled, crews waiting, insurance notifications triggered. Each issue multiplies cost instead of adding to it. That is how numbers jump quickly. Not through one dramatic moment, but through repetition. One bad day is manageable. A pattern rewrites budgets. Insurance is where reality TV turns serious. Productions carry coverage that assumes a level of predictability. When that predictability slips, premiums shift. Coverage terms tighten. Questions get asked, not by fans, by risk assessors whose job is to imagine worst-case scenarios. No incident needs to be public for this process to begin. Internal reports are enough. Scheduling disruptions are enough. Crew discomfort is enough. Insurance does not wait for scandals. It reacts to signals. This is why a large dispute can exist without any dramatic footage ever surfacing. It lives in spreadsheets, not storyboards. When filming halts unexpectedly, networks face a choice: push forward and absorb losses, or pause, reassess, and protect long-term interests. Both paths cost money. One costs more if taken too late. Silence often follows that choice. Silence is not an admission. It is strategy. Public statements lock narratives. Narratives create expectations. Expectations create exposure. Legal teams hate exposure. The less said, the fewer angles opponents can use. This applies whether the issue involves behavior, contracts, or scheduling failures. Silence keeps options open. That silence can feel louder than any scandal. Viewers expect networks to address controversy. When they do not, curiosity spikes. Fans assume something is being hidden. Sometimes that assumption is wrong. Often, it misses the point. The goal is not hiding truth. It is containing liability. Contracts in reality TV include clauses about damages. If a cast member's actions allegedly cause financial harm, calculations follow. Lost filming days, increased insurance costs, delayed production timelines. These figures are not emotional. They are provable. Seven figures sound dramatic to viewers. To a network managing multiple productions, it is a threshold, not a shock, especially when delays ripple across schedules. One paused show affects others sharing crews or locations. The domino effect is real. This does not assign blame. It explains why disputes escalate quietly, why meetings replace reunions, why lawyers replace producers. TLC's lack of public commentary fits this pattern, not as guilt, not as confirmation, as containment. Networks speak when speaking helps. They stay silent when silence protects flexibility. Scandals can be spun. Silence cannot. Silence invites speculation without providing hooks. That frustrates audiences, but it calms legal waters. And that is what scares networks more than bad headlines. Headlines fade. Precedents do not. Once a network acknowledges a financial dispute publicly, it sets expectations for future cases. Others watch. Other cast members learn leverage. Silence prevents copycats. This is why money shifts the story into a colder space. Less personality. More policy. Less emotion. More calculation. And as this unfolds, one question lingers heavier than before. Not about who shouted. Not about who controlled whom. But about what happens when the quiet costs more than the noise ever did. Behind every reality show moment, there are people you never see. Camera operators holding rigs for hours, Field producers juggling personalities. Sound techs catching words no one plans to say. Location partners opening real businesses and homes. These people do not sign up for chaos the way cast members do. They sign up for work days, call sheets, and a basic expectation of safety and respect. Most viewers assume complaints come from cast fights. They rarely do. Cast arguments are baked into the job. Crews are trained for tension. They know how to step back, reset, and keep rolling. What changes everything is when discomfort moves sideways instead of forward. Sideways means off camera. Sideways means lingering stress. Sideways means people dreading call time. That is when a show stops being entertainment and starts becoming a workplace issue. Production teams document everything, not dramatically, methodically. Notes after shoots, emails about delays, quiet check-ins after tense days. No one wants escalation. Everyone wants the show to run smoothly. But patterns do not disappear when ignored. They stack. One complaint rarely changes anything. 10 similar ones shift tone fast. Not because of outrage, because of responsibility. Networks have obligations to crews and partners. When multiple people flag the same concern, it triggers processes that sit far above storytelling. Human resources, compliance, legal review. These systems exist to protect the machine, not punish individuals. That distinction matters. What viewers often miss is how small disruptions snowball. A location refusing future access, a crew member requesting reassignment, a producer burning out and asking off the project. Each change costs time and money. Each change adds friction. Reality TV depends on momentum. Once momentum breaks, rebuilding it costs more than starting fresh elsewhere. At that point, replacement becomes cheaper than repair. This is why patterns matter more than moments. One bad day can be blamed on stress. A repeated tone cannot. Repetition signals predictability. Predictability shapes decisions. From the outside, disappearance feels unfair. Fans want closure. They want explanations, but closures satisfy audiences, not operations. Operations prioritize stability. Crew members rarely speak publicly. They move to the next job. They protect their reputations. Silence protects livelihoods. That silence is often mistaken for absence of issues. In reality, it is professionalism. Location partners matter too. Restaurants, rental homes, event spaces. These places do not want drama attached to their names. If filming brings stress, they quietly opt out next time. Those refusals land on desks, not screens. Producers notice these signals long before viewers do. When assembling future seasons, names get weighed, not morally, practically. Who adds friction? Who adds ease? Ease wins. Elizabeth's presence complicates this picture emotionally. She bridged worlds. She smoothed edges. When mediators tire, systems strain. No individual can carry balance forever. This does not require malice. It requires mismatch. Personalities that worked in early seasons can outgrow the structure that held them. When that happens, separation feels sudden to viewers but overdue to those inside. And that is where disappearance becomes a decision, not a punishment. Networks rarely announce that choice. They let time do the talking. New storylines fill gaps. New faces absorb attention. The absence fades into trivia. But for those watching closely, disappearance is louder than any confrontation. It signals that something crossed from manageable to costly, from dramatic to disruptive, from content to concern. The loudest choice a network can make is to stop choosing someone at all. Fans notice absence faster than announcements. Online threads light up within hours. Social media explodes with theories. They got fired. TLC hates them. Secret scandal. The speculation grows daily, branching like wildfire. Yet what most people forget is how little networks owe the public in these situations. Silence is not an admission. It is a shield. Networks rarely explain exits. A cast member disappears, and the explanation often stays behind closed doors. Not because the network is hiding, but because the stakes are legal, financial, and operational. Every word matters. Every public statement could create liability. A single misstep could turn a contained issue into months of lawsuits. Rumors are loud, facts are quiet. Fan theories often assume moral failure. They assume bad behavior. They assume scandal. But absence is usually administrative. Crew reports, contract obligations, location agreements, safety concerns, scheduling conflicts. These are invisible to audiences, but very real to production teams. And they often move faster than any on-screen drama. Online chatter can distort perception. One misinterpreted screenshot or tweet becomes proof in the court of public opinion. Alleged confrontations are amplified. Alleged threats multiply. Alleged financial damages explode. Yet none of it is confirmed. None of it is necessarily true. Observing rumors with caution is not cynicism, it is clarity. This is why networks separate quietly. Public statements would escalate drama unnecessarily. Networks have legal counsel guiding communication. Every official word must balance transparency and protection. Silence is not coldness, it is control. This quiet separation works for everyone involved. Cast members avoid public misrepresentation. Networks avoid liability. Crew and partners remain shielded from speculation. Fans continue to watch, unaware that the real decision-making happens far from cameras. The absence itself becomes the story, yet the machinery behind it remains intact. In some ways, the mystery fuels engagement. People try to fill gaps with narratives. They try to assign blame, create villains, imagine secret betrayals. But the truth is more mundane and more strategic than any of those imagined dramas. It is about maintaining production integrity while keeping legal exposure minimal. The reversal is subtle. Silence is often seen as guilt. Yet in practice, it is protection. Protection for the network, protection for cast, protection for crew, protection for contracts, and even protection for fans from becoming collateral damage in a legal dispute. Even Elizabeth and Andrei's public personas are affected by this strategy. Their absence is noticeable, yes, but their privacy and reputation are partially preserved by the same silence that fans find frustrating. Networks understand that uncontrolled explanations can harm everyone more than controlled absence. This creates a paradox. The less the audience knows, the safer everyone is. Absence sparks speculation, yet explanation could spark lawsuits. Fans fill in the gaps with stories. Networks maintain stability. The quiet decision is effective precisely because it is invisible. The cycle repeats. Rumors spread. Facts stay hidden. Patterns become apparent only to those watching carefully. Absence becomes a message without words. Networks communicate through what they do not say. Cast members exist in limbo, simultaneously visible and protected. And that is where the final tension lies. Audiences feel frustration and curiosity. They see drama, but not the cause. They see absence, but not the decision-making process. What seems sudden is often the result of careful, controlled processes. Networks rarely act out of vengeance. They act out of strategy, risk management, and protection. By observing quietly, fans unknowingly witness a layered story about responsibility, liability, and operational reality. Every online theory exists on top of a base of facts the public will never fully see. The result is engagement fueled by absence, tension built by restraint, and drama shaped by control rather than chaos. Networks, cast, crew, and even fans all operate in this ecosystem of controlled uncertainty. The quiet separation is not a failure of communication, it is the engine keeping reality TV functional. This is why silence can be louder than scandal. It shields, it stabilizes, and it shapes narratives without a single on-camera confrontation. The real drama, paradoxically, thrives in what remains unseen. On camera, Andrei exudes control. He commands attention, asserts dominance, and rarely backs down. Elizabeth, in response, often navigates loyalty and patience, trying to balance his intensity with her own needs. Fans see arguments, raised voices, and dramatic reactions. What they do not see is how those same behaviors translate off-camera into environments bound by rules, contracts, and safety protocols. Power and pride are double-edged. On television, boldness draws screen time, creates storylines, and fuels audience engagement. Networks reward confidence, decisiveness, and conflict because those traits make for compelling television. But in real-world production, especially when others' livelihoods and legal obligations are involved, the same traits can escalate risk quickly. A forceful personality is not inherently negative, yet it can create friction with rules, schedules, and crew responsibilities. Elizabeth's loyalty is admirable on screen. Fans empathize with her attempts to mediate, to support, and to maintain family cohesion. Off camera, however, loyalty can create complexity. Aligning with a partner while navigating production expectations and legal boundaries is a delicate dance. Choices that feel right personally may collide with corporate priorities or contractual obligations, and the resulting tension is often invisible to the audience. Behavior that earns applause on stage can trigger consequences behind the scenes. From a behavioral lens, what viewers perceive as drama is often amplified by context. Andrei's intensity, his insistence on control, his pride in decisions, all traits that generate compelling moments for television, can inadvertently make him a higher risk figure off camera. Production teams track patterns, not isolated incidents. Even a single aggressive confrontation or a refusal to comply with safety protocols can ripple outward. Halting a scene, postponing a shoot, or reviewing liability options becomes necessary, not optional. At the same time, it is fair to note that Andrei and Elizabeth are performing within a framework designed to provoke extremes. Reality television encourages strong personalities to escalate conflict because conflict is currency. The show rewards behavior that, in another environment, could be problematic. In other words, the very traits that make them stars also make them vulnerable to consequences once the cameras stop. This is not a moral judgment. It is structural. Networks design shows to highlight dramatic tension, to push personalities toward visible peaks. But production teams operate in parallel, monitoring safety, contracts, and legal risk. When those two systems collide, cast members may face repercussions not because of personal failings, but because of operational necessities. Elizabeth's counterpoints are equally valid. Her attempts to maintain composure, mediate disputes, or advocate for her family are behaviors networks often reward indirectly through narrative sympathy. Yet loyalty, like intensity, has limits when measured against contractual obligations and workplace risk. It is a reminder that reality TV stars inhabit dual roles, performers for an audience and participants in a structured production system with real-world consequences. This contrast raises a deeper question. Does reality television train people for success, or does it condition them for risk? Fame comes with scripts, prompts, and editing choices designed to amplify certain behaviors. What viewers applaud, confidence, aggression, decisiveness, may be exactly what triggers friction off camera. Public praise and private risk are not always aligned. Cast members are rarely coached on how to translate on-screen dominance into off-screen compliance with legal and logistical frameworks. The psychological tension is subtle but real. Pride and control are celebrated traits, yet when they collide with unseen rules, they can lead to abrupt consequences. Elizabeth and Andrei's story illustrates how a well-crafted persona, rewarded for entertainment, intersects unpredictably with corporate structures. The fame machine incentivizes visibility, but visibility alone does not shield one from consequences beyond the camera. Fans may wonder whether this is punishment or a natural outcome of structural design. The fair perspective is that both possibilities coexist. The network is not a moral judge, it is a risk manager. Andrei and Elizabeth are not villains, they are participants whose traits, magnified by fame, have repercussions in a controlled environment. This brings us to a critical reflection. Reality TV celebrates extremes for audience consumption, but it rarely prepares its stars for consequences outside the lens. Confidence, control, and pride thrive in a filmed moment, but can collide with liability, contracts, and safety protocols when unobserved. The audience sees the drama, but misses the complexity. They see absence, but not the systems that cause it. They see silence, but not the protection it provides. And in this gap lies both tension and insight, a reminder that what works on stage does not always work behind the scenes. By looking at Andrei and Elizabeth this way, we can appreciate them as human actors navigating a dual reality, one where charisma earns fame, and another where behavior intersects with operational necessity. They are not the sum of controversy alone. They are figures caught between performance and protocol, risk and reward, visibility and consequence. As we consider their journey, the question lingers: how much of reality TV prepares its stars for the off-camera consequences of on-camera behavior? And how much of what we see is shaped less by personal choices and more by the silent forces guiding production from behind the scenes?